Hello and welcome. I'm Julie Schumacher, founder of Power Up by Learning Essentials. And with summer approaching, it's an important time of year to discuss strategies to keep our children and our teens safe. And there's no one better to have sitting here than Officer Lori Reyes. Thank you so much for being here. But before I introduce you and let you do your thing, I just wanted to talk about the remarkable accomplishments that you've had. Officer Lori Reyes has been a Montgomery County police officer for 22 years. In 2005, she created and implemented what is now called the MCPD Autism and Intellectual Developmental Disabilities Alzheimer's Dementia Outreach Program, how'd I do with that, and has served in this program since that time. Officer Reyes has received recognition from the White House for the Champion of Change for Youth and Law Enforcement. And in 2018, she was recognized by the Attorney General's Office for Distinguished Service in Policing and also received a governor's citation for the creation and continued coordination of her outreach program. So Officer Reyes is committed to educating and bringing awareness to the community and supporting overlooked children with medical conditions, which is also great in providing support for families, which really aligns with the Power Up and medical conditions for children, and we have an academic focus. So I am going to turn it over to you and let you share all this exciting work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. So I think what I want to start with is how exciting our day started out. We just did a presentation. We rushed over here after giving an incredible presentation at a local high school. So I'm kind of living off the energy off of that and speaking to kids who have autism and other intellectual and developmental disabilities. So what we'll do today is I'll go through kind of the presentation that we provided to your folks, but what we provide to other community members. People always ask us, will you give a presentation to this or that group? And the answer is always yes, because everybody has most everybody has a loved one or someone they know that's impacted with autism or other intellectual developmental disabilities. So I'll give you the presentation, and then if there's something that I didn't cover, that we didn't go over, my email along with my partner's email is going to be at the end of this presentation. So any questions, any concerns, and I think I learn each time I present. So if you wanted to provide any insight on somebody that's listening, please do, kind of an open book. So let's go ahead, let's get the presentation. And we decided I'm gonna sit down, so. All right, so we're gonna go to the next one. So we know who I am. I'm Officer Lori Reyes, and I have the best job probably on the entire department. And we're gonna tell you a little bit about what I do, why we do it, and so let's get started. So I am the main coordinator of our Montgomery County Police Autism, Intellectual Developmental Disabilities, IDD for short, Alzheimer's and Dementia Outreach Program. For today's purposes, we're going to stick to autism in the intellectual and developmental disabilities side of things, but I just think it's important to kind of know that we do provide outreach in those other areas as well. So the program began in 2005, and it began because we were seeing an increase in the amount of calls for those, what we now call, critically at-risk missing persons. So those are individuals who have autism and other intellectual developmental disabilities. So we're receiving a lot more calls for those types. So what ended up happening was that, yes, we needed to provide a educated response to those types of calls, the missing persons calls, but we also needed to ensure that we were having positive, effective interactions in general calls for service in that community. So as the numbers were increasing for search and rescue, the numbers were and are increasing for general calls for service, from the mundane all the way up to the very serious. So the program kind of morphed, and we provide what we now call a layered approach. So through education, all of our officers since 2010 receive a entire block of instruction. We'll kind of go through that a little bit more, but education, outreach, empowerment, follow-up and response. That's kind of the core of our entire program. So that's a lot of things that we provide, a lot of resources that we provide, kind of from start to finish. So let's go and we'll talk. I know Julie kind of mentioned that we have been recognized. Our entire program, it's not just me, we've been recognized as a model for other police agencies to follow. We hope that they do, because I always say we can't just be the only agency that has these challenges that we're facing, especially with the prevalence of autism increasing. So what are we doing? We're going to cover that. This is a great picture of one of our young people that we have interactions with. This is my man John, and I think we mentioned him a little bit more further down the road. But what's happened in our program is that we've created this culture of awareness in our department. And what happens is that it becomes more to our officers than just responding to a call. So our officers will do things like buy air conditioning units for individuals who chronically wander from a hot apartment. I mean, that's just one example. And I think that doesn't happen unless you have a culture, a culture of understanding. So that's just my man John with one of his care providers. So what are we doing? Let's get to that. We touched on this a little bit. So our officer training. It's probably one of the favorite things that we do, second to working with the individuals, is we teach all of our incoming recruits. We teach our CIT officers. Those are the officers that are going through a 40-hour block of mental health training. And even though, in general, we, those who have autism and other intellectual developmental disabilities may not have a mental illness, we included the autism IDD portion in our CIT. One, because of co-occurring conditions. You could have autism and, intellectual disability and. But also because there's times when someone who has autism or IDD may have behaviors that mimic someone who's in a mental health crisis. So we brought that into our training. So we teach, again, the recruits, the ones that have to listen to us and sit at attention. We teach our officers that have been on, our current officers, our CIT officers. And one of the most fun things, the thing that makes our class, I think, really dynamic is our use of self-advocates. So in particular, we have a young man who is our chief autism IDD ambassador, and he asked for that title, right? He asked for that title because he was our first autism IDD ambassador, and then he thought, okay, there's going to be others, but I'm the first. So we set up a meeting with Chief Manger at the time, and we made him our chief autism IDD ambassador. But we have other individuals that we also utilize, and the reason we utilize them is because Officer Lori Reyes can't stand up and speak to someone about what it's like to navigate this world while having autism. I can't do that. And so it's really important that the individual themselves gets an opportunity, gets a voice, is what we call.
And you can learn.
Yeah, and you can learn.
Absolutely.
So we utilize our self-advocates. The other thing that we do is we keep our curriculum that we teach current, meaning we let them know, the age of those who have autism is increasing. A lot of individuals who have autism are going into adulthood, going into puberty. That's a whole new set of challenges than, say, in 2005, when most of the individuals we were interacting with were what I called our little peanuts. So now those little peanuts that have autism are now growing into adulthood or puberty and adulthood. So we keep the curriculum current to let them know what they're going to be encountering and how they can have positive, effective interactions. We also have had an increase in co-occurring conditions. Again, as individuals with autism are aging, the likelihood of also having another co-occurring condition is what we're seeing is becoming more common. So that also presents challenges for us in law enforcement. So we keep that curriculum, we keep it current. And then the other things we talk about are calls that myself and the other coordinators have encountered. Calls of a more serious nature. Just because the calls are becoming more serious doesn't mean that we can't still have a positive, effective, safe response. How are we going to do that? So we make our instruction more than just a basic understanding of autism and IDD, but we keep it to information that some of these individuals, some of these recruits and officers are going to see their first week, their first days on the job. We keep it really current. And community education. Again, that question always comes up, oh, will you come do a presentation for us? Again, we provide presentations. I think we had over 180 presentations last year. And we provided education to our school bus drivers, Ride-On, Chamber of Commerce, basically any organization that's going to have an interaction with somebody who has autism or an intellectual developmental disability. So the answer is almost never no. We try our best because we feel as if no matter who we teach, if we give them the tools, it's going to benefit us to have an educated community. A community that should they see an individual, we've had this happen, who has autism, walking down Route 270 in Rockville, and they think, I think that young man has autism. They're not going to keep driving. They're going to call 911 because they've heard myself or Officer Bond give a presentation about the prevalency of wandering elopement with autism, and they're going to take action as a community, right? Right, or if they see an individual who may be having a meltdown at Target, instead of just staring, jump in. We're saying, ask mom, what do you need? How can I help you, right? So you're building this education piece, not just with our officers, but with the community. And we've seen a difference. I mean, we've seen community members take action, and we don't encourage, that putting their safety in jeopardy, but take action, call us, stay with the individual. So it's part of our community outreach. Of course, our community partnerships have to go. We work a lot with different organizations, again, to ensure that if we have an individual that's in need of services, that we have the tools and the connections to make sure that they get the resources that they need. And some will say, well, that's like social work. Well, for us in law enforcement, in this day and age, there are families that we come in contact with that we are their first contact that they've had with any type of resource. So we tell our officers, first thing is, like we talked about, be the voice, because they may not have a voice. So be that voice for them. So the community partnerships for us is, again, spreading that awareness, making sure no one slips through the cracks. And we have a motto that you're not alone, so call us. So that's our big motto. So we have a whole posse helping out. And there's things we don't know, so we need the community partnerships. Some of our community outreach, some of our events, I'll kind of go past that, just some of our guys. So another thing that we do, and you'll see on the brochure for Autism Night Out, it's now actually Autism IDD Night Out. In this event, we just had one, as you could see, last week. Myself and my partner are still exhausted from this event, but it is an opportunity. We had about 400 people attend. It's an opportunity for us in law enforcement to, again, bring out the whole community, food, fun, all of our first responders that could potentially be involved in a call with someone, be it the mundane call to a call of complete crisis, to a search and rescue call. All of those community supports were there on hand. We actually provided a recognition award to a family that for a while wasn't calling us when their son was missing, and then we worked with them and told them it was okay to call, that they weren't dropping the ball, and they ended up starting to call us and feeling comfortable calling us. And then they developed relationships with the officers that were responding. So it was kind of ironic that the police department was saying, thank you for calling 911, and here's your recognition for calling us. So for us, it was great to have a family that has their challenges be awarded for taking an initiative and following what we're saying. So that's Autism Night Out. We hold it annually. We also have other events throughout the year. Father of an individual who has autism came up with this idea for spectacular kids night out, jumped right on board. We work with local restaurants, so you train the staff of the restaurant, and I love food. So we are able to incorporate the fun of
Love
the
of food, love of kids.
Yes,
It's a win-win,
it's
right?
win-win for everybody. So we have those
Perfect.
throughout the year as well. So just more community events. Some individuals at our event, like I said, we have all of Fire Rescue and Canine, and this was from I think probably one of our first ones. Some more important things. I think, well, one, everyone that knows me or knows my partners will say we have big mouths, right? We're not afraid we know what needs to be in place, and we're not afraid to say it to the people that matter. So as it relates to legislation, both locally and nationally, we like to have a voice for those that can't speak. So we are fortunate to be so close to the Washington, D.C. area, to Annapolis, and so we just, I always put this in my presentation because you never know what important person might be listening and say, oh, we want to work on some less legislation. So I always use these opportunities to say, if you're thinking of legislation, I am happy to, we're happy to be a part of that and use our experience of what is needed and make sure that the correct tools are being allocated. We also work with, we're going to be working with National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Department of Justice COPS, so lots of different organizations. And along the same lines of me having a big mouth, I know how important the utilization of social media is to get the word out. We like to use social media when we have, after a significant wandering or elopement, we like to say, hey, this is what you could do if this happened to your child. Call 911. Call 911 immediately. No, we're not judging you. We understand the dynamics of caring for someone who has autism, and we let the family know. We let the social media outlets know. We handle 3 to 8 searches or fines a week. So to tell a family, I know this is traumatic for you, but we aren't judging you. Just call us. So the utilization of social media and print media to get the word out about what we're doing.
Those tools to do.
Yeah, and to provide safety tools.
Right.
Yeah, for other families, so that, as you talked about safety during the summer months, neighbors who have pools know, oh, my neighbor may have a child who has autism. Let me see what I can do. Or
Not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but that's our
goal.
14. We're doing a safety in swimming pools.
Okay, that's
to raise awareness.
well. Let's
about
get
it.
together.
Okay,
We can
well,
talk
maybe you'll come down
offline.
and go do it with us.
Yeah, so we
Exactly.
utilize that to get the word out about
Yeah.
about water safety. Drowning is unfortunately a very significant threat to individuals who have autism, especially our younger guys. So we really try to get the word out about that. One of my favorite all-time pictures. My oldest son, took this picture, and this is part of our empowerment piece. So this is Jake, our chief ambassador, after he delivered a keynote speech at our Autism IDD Night Out event to probably there were about 300 people watching. Right? Who's not nervous thinking of 300 people, right?
Exactly.
He did marvelously and brought, I mean, I can cry to Hallmark commercials, but I was in tears, our chief was in tears, the other officers. It was very profound. I think it sent a really nice message. So that is Jake hugging his mom, and it's part of our empowerment piece, giving people a voice. These are some more of our individuals that we've given awards to. Mr. John here and his family is in the upper corner, and again he had some significant wandering episodes, and we gave him an award for training our officers in progress. So, and not just that, but we gave him an award and his mom and dad an award because sometimes as a parent you don't want to share when something like that happens. You think, oh, I dropped the ball, or and that's not the case. And they take those moments, even though they're in complete stress, and they say, how can we prevent this from happening, or how can we get the word out? So in their moment of crisis, they're still wanting to save others. And that family has undoubtedly saved others by being so generous.
And his voice is teaching.
Yeah,
What you
and
need to know.
sends the message that, we can search for somebody multiple times, and we will search again. And we will be just as concerned the third time as we were the first time. So that to me, to have a family at a podium to say, we get it. We really get it. So just some other pictures there. This is Jake meeting Vice President Biden. Again, the empowerment, lifting people up, giving kids a voice. We kind of went over that. Some more of Jake and an Officer Bond there on the other side. Okay, so the other part of our education piece is we go out now, very recently in this past school year, and we teach neurotypical kids, general ed kids, about our job and why we do our job as autism IDD outreach officers. So we have a full assembly, school assembly, and we say, everybody can do what I call, and I say to my own kids, protect the underdog, right? If a kid's sitting at a lunch table by themselves, get up, go sit next to them, step outside your comfort zone. So we tell them a little bit about autism, and kids know about autism. They have other kids who have disabilities, intellectual, developmental, physical disabilities. But we need them to know that autism is a spectrum, right? So somebody may be just a little bit more quirky or just a little bit different, and so we say, don't just be a good person, and we teach them about why, as police officers, we feel so empowered about it. And we teach them, maybe police officers, maybe we weren't getting it perfect all the time, but we're learning and you need to learn. So this slide, one of my favorites, that's my man, Mr. H, and he is a young man who has autism, but he also plays on his local football team, and he's made a touchdown, and he will be a force because he's a big man, right? He's going to be a big guy. But he also came into our recruit class and spoke about him, what he does with his sports, and how it's difficult sometimes to navigate the social challenges of having autism. But he's very special to us. So we use this slide not only for our recruits, but for the presentations we give in schools, middle schools and high schools. Well, I gotta pass that. That is Mr. H after he made his touchdown, and he is, it gets better. He is hugging the opposite team. He is hugging the opponent. He is hugging the opponent, and the opponents are hugging him. So that's inclusivity at its finest. That's putting it into action, right? That's inclusivity at its purest. So that is just one of my favorite pictures. There's our man Jake teaching our recruits again. He's teaching our CIT officers there. Okay, back to John B. This is another slide that we utilize to teach our recruits and our kids at the schools. It just shows that an individual has autism is more than just his autism or her autism, and kind of we need our officers and the gen ed kids to know that someone with autism may ... and to never underestimate. So just another slide. Plus I love my man John, and I love his parents, and they're pretty awesome. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so again, part of our education piece, myself and Officer Bond, like I said in the beginning, had just left a local high school. Let's say that. So we just left a local high school, and we did a presentation about being safe in the community for those individuals who have autism and IDD. And we go over ways that they can have positive, effective interactions with us. We keep the class, it's not that we keep the class informal, but we certainly introduce ourselves. I'll say, you know, I'm a mom. That always gets, I think that gets just about every kid. They're like, what?
Wait, what?
You have a life? So we say, you know, we have I'm a mom, and I have 2 dogs, and, you know, I have a husband, and we kind of try to break those barriers down, but also give safety tips to individuals about being safe in the community and being safe when having interactions with law enforcement. So we go over all of this, we do some scenarios. We didn't do scenarios today, but at longer classes, we're able to do some scenarios, and that's always super fun. And we leave them, we hope, our goal is to leave them empowered, not only to know how to have positive, safe interactions, but to know their rights, right? But know their rights, but how can you also stay safe, right? What do you need to do to stay safe in the community? And we empower them by showing pictures of Jake and how we utilize Jake and other individuals who have autism and IDD. And then we also tell them that we're never underestimating, right? You should never underestimate yourself. So that's just part of our curriculum, and it's great. I once had a young man. I was talking about challenges, and having autism is a challenge, and he raised his hand. This young man who has autism, and he said, "Well, doesn't everybody have challenges?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yes.
Yeah. So again, under the the umbrella of we learn when
it's
we
that
teach.
Voice that is teaching you something.
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're right, and it almost took my breath away. So just one of those opportunities. Okay. Is that just oh. That's interesting. This is what we. That's so funny. I was thinking, what is this slide? So cops don't always get it right. Okay. Okay. So
it's a slide.
I was like,
slide.
what's this coming up?
This should be the thing you get wrong all day.
Yes. Yeah. That's funny. Maybe it's my kids playing a joke on me. So this is kind of the things that we tell the kids. We'll kind of go through this fast. Just going over staying calm when you call 911. Honestly, every young adult could stand to listen to this. We always tell the kids that 9 times out of 10, young people actually handle a 911 call way better than a grown adult. You get frazzled. So anyway, we'll just kind of skip through these. We do talk about self-disclosure. We talk about self-disclosure a lot when it relates to interacting with law enforcement, saying I have autism. I have Williams syndrome, I have XYZ, it's important because we don't always know immediately, and the self-disclosure piece it could be the difference between a good interaction and maybe not a good interaction. So we talk about the kids about saying, I have autism. When you have an officer spouting off questions 3 at a time, and the officer's perceiving that they're being they're being deceptive if the individual said, I have autism. So we talk about self-disclosure at the individual's comfort level, right? We understand the dynamics of a teenager that's with his boys and they want to say, I have autism, or I have epilepsy, whatever. My oldest has epilepsy. So we talk about finding your comfort level and giving them the tools to make their own decision how they want to handle that. So we understand that navigation piece. All right, so this is along the lines of self-disclosure. And I know I wanted to share this because of the audience that's there. We really encourage, again, the comfort level of the individual. We encourage the use of identification bracelets. And it can be something as simple as just a cell phone number, a name, and to show it to the first responder should they have an interaction. But it's depending on even on the cognitive level, it's what would you feel comfortable putting on the bracelet. But we can only say of those 3 to 8 searches we probably have 40 to 50 encounters a month with individuals who have autism and IDD. But of the searches, the 3 to 8 a week, in most cases we locate the missing person before family or caregivers even call us. So that could lead us to having someone in our care and custody for an hour or more sometimes. Without an ID bracelet, it can make it a little more difficult. With that said, we understand the sensory issues with some who have autism, keeping a bracelet on, but we encourage, make it part of an IEP, make it part of a safety plan, really work with the school to determine how it's going to be best to utilize a bracelet. And we understand it's not for everybody. We just kind of try to deliver why it's important. So we'll go through this quickly. I know we'll probably have like maybe 10 minutes. So for our wandering and elopement concerns, again, like I said, we average about 3 to 8. This week we are on number 6. We've had 6 calls this week. So one young man was found as far away from Germantown to Wheaton Glenmont Metro. Yeah, so, never underestimate this young man. He was going where he wanted to go, and he was going to get there. So for us, we really, this is what started the program. This is what started it, but of course it's grown. So wandering and elopement, we really try to provide a proactive response through Autism IDD Night Out, through the delivering of our safety kits. So the safety kit is we deliver it in this envelope, and it contains window clings for the home and for the car that say someone with autism or IDD might be in this vehicle. We provide like a sensory toy, a stop sign. We provide our contact information. And the other thing that we provide is called our Autism IDD Safety Shirt. And this shirt is designed only for those who cannot speak for themselves and are in immediate risk. This shirt we treat almost as a tool. We treat it as a tool. It's something to be taken very seriously, and we've had good success with this shirt. A young man was found wearing this shirt walking down Route 270 in the middle of the night. So it's not a mandatory thing. It's really your comfort level of a family, how they choose to use it. But it does say, I have autism. I am a person who has autism, IDD. Please call 911 if I'm alone. Again, it is designed for those who cannot speak and are in immediate danger. So it's also part of our safety kit. And then the other thing is, beyond the kit, myself and my partners, if there's challenges that are being faced by a family related to their loved one, we try to go out to the home, sometimes after a crisis and sometimes preventatively, and work on strategies with that individual. Work on strategies with a family, be it an individual who, let's say, has autism and is texting a girl in his school 50 times, and the parents are saying, we're going to go to the police if this isn't managed. So something like that, we would go to the home, we would speak to the young man in an understanding way, but work on strategies to prevent that type of behavior. And that's just one example.
Getting you involved and adding value to this situation.
Yeah, just trying to come up with strategies to not carry it further. I mean, and we have individuals who are over 18 where, we could be going down a legal path, and we want to prevent that. And we have individuals who will break into other facilities because one young man wanted a Subway sandwich, and he so he wasn't going in to burglarize, but if officers didn't recognize immediately that he had autism, so that's something we would go to the house and say, okay, these are the strategies, what are we going to do? Depending on cognitive level, we figure out a way. Look at that. Okay, so thank you. So I have both my email and my co-coordinator's email, Officer Tara Bond, and I'd say the best way to reach us is usually via email, and you can also visit our website. You can put a link to the website up. But an email for us, you send me an email and I'm going to answer it. Yeah, or my partner here is going to answer it.
That's great.
Okay.
So I feel very fortunate to be a resident of Montgomery County and see all the progress that's been made in this area. It's quite remarkable. so much for all that you do and the team that you have working with you.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the community that we can do to help support your work that you do?
I think educating themselves about, because of the prevalency of autism, it's 1 in 59 right now, and I'm not dismissing other intellectual and developmental disabilities, but being familiar that your likelihood of encountering someone who has autism is increasing, and being educated and daggone it, helping a mom, you know, that's maybe has a child who's in crisis, or, you know, just being the one that calls 911. It doesn't look the other way. You know, don't be the person that looks the other way. Just call us. You know.
So people can share you live and get the word out for education.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll send that around, and then we look forward to the next time that you come to give us updates and spread
great
more.
Platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.